Selamat sore. I think this will be the hardest session because everyone is going to fall asleep. So hopefully we can see some sparks within you guys. You have a beautiful question later on. But today I'm going to talk about how we feel driving business through disruption. So it's an important topic, I think, Mbak Vika and Mbak Luki. And first of all, thank you, Bu Santi and MMA for having us again the second time. And with Mbak Vika, first time with Mbak Luki again. So yes, let's start. I will set the context first, everyone. So as you guys know, that now in Indonesia we are one of the most connected digitally in terms of audience. And I think the algorithm always changing every day, every minute, and we need to be adaptive to that kind of behavior. And then also the innovation, the AI discussion. We've heard the past 4 sessions discussing about AI. And the ultimate truth is how far we want to disrupt ourselves. So it's not about disrupting the trend as only, but as a brand, how far you are willing to go to disrupt yourself. So I think that's the most important question that we will discuss today. At the end of the day, as a brand and agency, we need to drive impact, not only from the brand awareness, but also the sales perspective. So that's as a context, we're going to discuss about that as a disruption. And here goes to the first question. So it goes to Mbak Luki and Mbak Vika. So Indonesia, right now, where consumers are highly influenced by viral trends, by netizen Indonesia. But at the same time, we need to still to be a trusted brands. How do you balance being a source of truth, but at the same time, staying culturally relevant? Maybe Mbak Vika first, after that Mbak Luki.
So, what an interesting question, yeah. I hope you bear with me in this afternoon, guys. This is going to be the hardest panel, but bear with me. So, for KenU, as a corporate, our brands are always rooted in science, and I think that's always our source of truth. Our science and our clinical studies, we have years of research, like 70, 80 years worth of research. And I think that's actually our core strength that we should take advantage of. It is not weaknesses that we should shy away from taking it into the culture. So I think what we see here is not about science as a weakness, but how we actually embed the science into the culture. And it's not easy, I know, because science is boring, right? We're talking about research, doctors, scientists. Nobody in Gen Z world wants to hear that. But now I think we do have a tool for that. We can change the executions. We can adapt in terms of our executions. So we can translate the science into the culture from content creators. We have a lot of millions of content creators in Indonesia right now, right?
True.
So I think maybe you are one of them. You're in the creative industries. I'm sure you can create a lot of content. And it's a partnership that we're doing with these content creators. These people are highly credible and relevant in the culture. They have their target audience. Well, we have the expertise in science and knowledge. So we combine the two. We can have best of both worlds. We can still have the science, but we can ask these content creators as partners to help translate all this complex science into a more relatable language, into a more trendy situations and usage occasions. So I think the disruptions here is not really about changing the science. It's more about changing the entry points. So we're not changing our business integrity and our strength, but we are changing the entry points to make a better execution.
And just a follow-up question, Mbak Vika. Do you see any challenge in to find a new entry point on the level? Because at the end of the day, the content creators, influencers, basically they are not a proper scientifically driven content creator. And how do you manage the expectation? And how do you balance the truth, which is the science, and then at the same time to bring the entertainment time. Okay.
So I think this is a question also being asked to me several times because there's always a balance between finding the right partner and giving the right guidelines. Because we have science, we have a lot of claims we have to adhere to. I mean, multiple companies, right? Yes. We have to adhere to a lot of compliance claims, regulations, but we need to be creative as well, but we can find a lot of trustworthy partners. I think a lot of content creators in Indonesia are quite talented and also have the credibility to actually give out their expertise and our expertise without disrupting the content itself or the science. So finding the right partner and giving the good guidelines to these content creators, I think it's the key to actually deliver the right execution.
Thank you so much, Mafika. How about yourself, Melody? How do you see this?
So I would probably just add on Mafika's point because apparently both of our companies work in very strict regulated categories. Our brands are closely monitored by BPOM.
Yes.
I think we share the same grievance. So I like to take the analogy of our brand as a lighthouse, not a disco ball. Maybe us millennials familiar dengan disco ball. Kalau kita ke disco, a disco ball catches lights from different direction, throws it in different directions again. It's exciting, it glows, gitu. But everybody looks at it for a moment, but nobody navigates by it. Gitu. Meanwhile, our brand should be the lighthouse. It's stable, it's immovable, and it's permanent. It's there. Like kalau di laut kan sailors depend on lighthouse to get to the shore. Gitu. So take our brand as a lighthouse. Gitu. For example, for my brand and Pagro, so the science of child's brain development is our lighthouse. It's non-negotiable. Nggak boleh diganggu-ganggu. Gitu. But the way we convey our story to our audience, that's the disco ball. It should be exciting, it should be agile, it should be catching insights, information from different directions, and then transforms it into content, like relevant content every time. Gitu. So, if the question is where do we strike the balance? Pertama, I think the first and foremost is back to the concept of the lighthouse and the disco ball. So, truth, your brand truth or the proof, it's the lighthouse. Tapi the way we deliver this story is the disco ball. It needs to change, it needs to be agile. Second, another balance is authority that feels connected, that feels human. Gitu. Jadi, I think our consumers nowadays, they are looking for someone to talk with them instead of someone to talk to them every day. Gitu. And the third, probably, I would say, influencers or partners. Gitu. Nowadays, siapa sih yang nggak pakai influencers? Gitu. We use influencers to amplify our credibility every day. Gitu. But in the end, we have to realize that in the end, it's the brand-owned content that actually make the difference, that makes our consumers choose the brand. Gitu. So I think those are the three things that I would try to balance every day.
Thank you so much, Melody, for the explanation. Can you give us a specific example that recently that you did with your brands? Maybe one example?
Contohnya, so I think it's related to the rise of social commerce. Yeah, the rise of social commerce. We know that I think 2024 probably you don't see TikTok that much, you don't see live stream evolving that much, but 2025 it's massive. Live stream it's no longer supplemental to operate in e-commerce platforms, tapi itu essential. Gitu. So what we do in Enfa is we double our live stream hours. So compared to 2024, it's double. And it benefits us in a way that now 30% of our GMV is coming from live stream. Gitu. So, provided them with live stream contents, engaging, and showing the real proof, but showing authenticity.
Thank you, Melody. So, the second question would be to Mbak Tika right now. You mentioned about finding the right partner, right? funding grant creators, agencies for your partner. But at the end of the day, how do you ensure your content doesn't just educate, but competes in culture? So it's not about only education in the right way scientifically, but competing with the competitors and winning the game. What is the secret sauce from you, Sarah?
So I think we want to stay consistent with science as the root for all our brands, right? So we don't change the science, and we treat science actually as the raw material for the creative, for these content creators to create. So we're giving them the science and raw materials for them to be more creative and giving us the context of how, what, and when it is appropriate to be used in the daily life. So from the context of science, then we ask them to translate this into like a more snackable content, 15 minutes of get ready with me, and then a before and after skincare impacts, right? Or any food moments that we can get, or any usage occasion. So these content creators really help us put the context of how we can actually use the brand. And it's not about making the science less credible because it doesn't come from an expert. It actually comes from a cultural expert to say, right? So we're making our science more accessible. Right. It's not really downgrade from science from an expert, but we're making our science more believable, more relevant, and more accessible to this target audience.
Got it. And you measure everything at the end of the day, right?
Right.
For 6 months, for 3 months, and so on. Okay. And then the next would be to Maluki. So as like Malvika mentioned, at the end of the day, finding the right partners, trying to educate the market, but at the same time, staying culturally relevant to create the content. And how do you decide, as the head of marketing, what is to protect in terms of your brand DNA, and then what to reinvent in your brand? Because at the end of the day, everybody's saying that brand needs to be relevant, but you still have your DNA inside of it. And can you give us a glimpse how does it work in your organization?
I have two examples actually. Just to make this session more exciting, karena mungkin udah sore, probably I'll bring a brand that is a marketer's dream. So Durex. So I previously managed Durex. Probably by the look of me, it's unpredictable, but it's true. I managed Durex. Kalau kalian tahu, ya Durex is very exciting, it's edgy, it's full of life. Kalau orang-orang kreatif itu pasti suka banget, gitu. Tapi in Indonesia, it's culturally very difficult. It's very difficult. Like every day you're battling with taboo, you're battling with a conservative category yang think that this product is useless, gitu. Tapi what will be the challenge? So what we're trying to protect is Durex still stands for enjoyment, or what we call it, pleasure. That doesn't change. So what we're trying to reinvent, actually the way we convey the messaging. So we're trying to be more contextually grounded. Jadi instead of pushing the sexual liberation, we're trying to make it all about connection, positivity, from a very male-driven category, jadi female lead. Gitu. So those are the examples.
And if I may ask for the audience to know,
Female.
yes, you're talking about Durex, right? It's a myth. It's something taboo that we discuss in this country and so on. Is the real challenge coming from your internal organization or coming from the external? And how do you navigate between those challenges? Maybe as an agency, as tips for us as well, because we can help you at the end of the day.
So previously I mentioned it's more to like external challenge. Indonesia is a very conservative market. Everyone considers condom as a taboo. Cewek nggak boleh demand it or initiate gitu. It's external. Tapi these external factors, they have been there since ages ago in Indonesia. The fact that Indonesia is a conservative market, kayaknya udah 20 tahun nggak berubah kan, gitu. Everybody is still living on behind the closet gitu, in this category. So external, I would say it's much more easier to predict, to manage. Tapi yang sulitnya sekarang ini, when you're talking about, makanya tadi aku tertarik when there was a topic about speed over perfection. What challenges us is actually more internal. What I call as the internal inertia.
Okay.
Your global playbooks, your brand guidelines, your historical framework, those are the internal inertia. Those are the challenges, gitu. So when it comes to talk about executing with speed, those are the walls that we need to break down.
Got it. Thank you so much for elaborating about it. So I think the next question will be to you both. So in a fast-moving market like us, what is one uncomfortable question for every brand in here that they start asking themselves tomorrow? Maybe start with Latika.
I'm a marketer, and I think the long-term dream as a marketer is building an iconic brand. I want to have a brand or build a brand that lasts for a lifetime. So the question I would ask myself and my team would be, if my brand is missing tomorrow, if it's gone tomorrow, would any of our consumers miss us? I mean, if the answer is yes, then we are on the right path. We are actually building values. We are adding values to our consumers' lives. But if in an instant they will replace us with another brand, then yeah, we have a long way to go. We have a lot of homework. So that's my question.
Got it. And how about you, Maliki?
Okay. Actually, the question is, for me, probably more to competition. Because I actually have similar question to Bafika earlier. If we went missing from social media, would our audience misses us or not? You know? Do they feel something missing from us as the source of truth tadi, or they just don't feel anything? But probably the second uncomfortable question would be, if there's a competition that says something about you, or says, let's say, a viral information that says something negatively about you, would your consumers believe it or not? Gitu. And what would make they believe it? Gitu. Kenapa? Kenapa mereka kok bisa believe? What did we do wrong? Or what we haven't done? Or what we could do differently? So that they are not easily buying into that viral information or something that is falsely negative about us.
Thank you so much, Maliki, for that explanation. And to add follow-up question regarding that, and how do you see the innovation of AI right now? Because you both work in an organization where highly restricted in terms of ethics, product, reform is everywhere, to taking care of everything. And how do you see AI will help you guys about creating the content and advertising in the future? Maybe with Malika.
I think we should adapt as well, right? AI is coming at this moment. We have to either move along with it or I think perish because it's here. AI will help us in many means, making content, making presentations, or meaningful conversations with your target audience. We need to take advantage of that. But I think the most important thing right now is to own the capability to handle AI. Because if you can't handle AI, well, basically you're not moving with the AI. You can be beaten by the AI. You can actually perish as well because your skills is being replaced by AI. So we need to enrich ourselves with the capabilities to handle AI properly so that we can actually move along together with AI, contributing to a more sustainable growth to our brand.
Thank you, Malika. What about you, Maliki?
I would say it's regulation, both internal and external. Internal meaning that in my situation, so Reckitt globally currently is still 50-50 about AI. We have a strict guideline that we cannot use AI to mimic living person, living people, because it affects our brand credibility. Mind you that we are selling children nutrition, so if there's an expert in white coat saying that this is the best for your kid's brain, but it's enacted by AI, then people will start questioning, is it real expert advice or this is AI fabricated message? So that's the challenge. But I would say we have to live with it, and it needs to be better regulated. And externally, I mean also in Indonesia, the government is doing less to protect us as brand owners, manufacturers to utilize AI, because there's no clear regulations on AI, how we use AI, how if there's any false AI videos, for example, would you be able to have a lawsuit against it or not, or what? So we don't know where to turn, right? In this situation.
Yeah, I would agree. I think regulations and regulating AI is super important if we want to move forward safely with AI, especially for children as well.
Yes, agreed. And at the end of the day, I think from the agency side, brand side, and then the regulator side need to work together in terms of ruling the ethics and conduct of AI at the end of the day. Okay, thank you so much for the explanation.
Thank you.
So, kita sekarang masuk ke Q&A, everyone. So, please feel free for anyone, if you have any question to Mbak Vika, Mbak Luki, we have 5 minutes left. Yes.
Luki, I have a question for you. You mentioned earlier about global brand books, guidelines, etc., that you have to follow, but you also have local cultural nuances, insights, norms, etc. How do you balance those two, the global guidelines and direction, with what is more relevant and more culturally relevant on the ground?
So I think what I do recently is that we went small with the intention to go big. What I'm saying is we're trying to make smaller experiments in digital platforms using local nuances, cultural aspects that we're referring to. That doesn't require like formal, regional, or global approval. So we're trying to address it in that sense. But I would say once you get soundproof, then you can start to share your success story, and eventually I think people will start to buy in that, oh, this is worked in this market, so you can continue what you do. Probably your market needs a different playbook. So I think that's what I do recently. So trying to find a way out from this internal inertia that I'm referring to. So experiments in like smaller formats, contents, or like smaller things that we can do locally, and then do it, and then scale it up gradually until you have some soundproof that you can present as your market success story. I think that works for me.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else? Maybe another one question from the floor? Yes, coming from Bupira.
Gantiannya sekarang buat Mbak Vika. What is the biggest and the toughest disruption that you ever had as a marketer? Ever? And tell us a bit about it.
Biggest disruption as a marketer. I wouldn't say biggest, but constant change and the needs to adapt all the time. It would be a challenge to us every time. because the market change constantly, our target audience change constantly, and the way we do our business model also needs to adapt. So I think the way we need to evolve is to quickly adapt and adjust to the way the market is. So right now, Luki is talking about social commerce. The way we're doing business these days compared to what we have like 7 years back is totally different, right? There comes a day we have integrated marketing campaigns that we do TV, we do key visuals that is one for all for one. But now there's no such thing as that kind of campaign. We're looking at a very fragmented media landscape and looking at a very fragmented content. I need to produce like 5,000 contents monthly per brand. Like, when did that happen? Like 5 years ago, there's no such thing as like that, right? So that's a challenge itself. But I think the challenge is always going to be there. The changes is always constant. You need to adapt or you die. That's not a choice. So I think just embrace the change and quickly adapt and quickly do everything fast. No need to be perfect. I think we also had that discussion earlier, right? It doesn't have to be perfect on executions, but you just need to do it fast, fail fast, learn fast. So I think that's how I would see the biggest challenge that we have right now. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much for the question. I think we have one more left questions. Is
We have time.
Anyone?
Toughest session ever is still almost done. People don't really pay attention to. It's okay.
Anyone? So I think only 2 questions so far. I think we conclude the session. I think one of the key takeaways, what we heard today, is that disruption is not just being bold. It's about being intentional. And at the end of the day, it's about knowing what to protect, what to evolve, and what to rethink. I think that's the fundamental as a brand and agency. We need to think about that. But the brands that win today are not the biggest, but the most adaptable. That's number one.
Agree.
And so, hopefully, the session will leave not just inspired, but slightly uncomfortable. Why? Because that's where the real transformation begins. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.